Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Old Man Rambles. I was watching something on the internet the other day, this specifically, Westworld Season 1, and the show's got some amazing dialogue, some amazing bits of philosophy. I wish I'd watched it sooner. I really, but I don't watch much, so it's one of the things I missed out on. But you know, this scene kind of really stuck with me. Um, for a little bit of backstory in this scene, Bernard has discovered he's one of the androids of the park, what they call a host in the show. And Ford is about to reset his memory to wipe recent events from his mind to set him back to not knowing what he is. But Ford asks him, questions. In this moment, you're both aware of the programming and yet also part of the program. How do you feel? How do you react to this? And they're having a philosophical discussion. And Bernard's like, what's the difference between you and me? You know, Ford's like, there really isn't one. We can't define consciousness because it doesn't exist. And he follows up with like, humans live in loops as tight and closed as the hosts do, seldom questioning their decisions and content for the most part to be told what to do next. And it's that little tidbit that really stuck with me, that made me want to talk about it a little bit. Because that little bit of misanthropy, the the misanthropy being, the hate, not necessarily hatred, but looking down on the human race, being highly critical of the human race, which I myself can be guilty of. But Ford is basically a misanthrope. He has a very negative view of humanity as a whole. But I find this idea that people like to be told what to do. It's usually told by villains of the story in a way that is contemptuous and villainous. And Ford's attitude is somewhat villainous, but he's not saying it with contempt of the human race. To him, it's just a fact of life. People and just live out their lives without thinking and are content to be told what to do next. To him, it's just a matter of fact statement. He's not being, in this moment, he's not being hateful of humanity. He just thinks this is a normal aspect of human nature. But I find that a lot of people who have this attitude, especially villains in movies, are the people who enjoy telling other people what to do. They view the humanity through that lens. They have power to force people to do their bidding. Therefore, people like to be told what to do. They completely fail to see that that's really not the case. I mean, this show is called Westworld. It's a celebration of the Old West. But what was the Old West? The Old West was the people of the East Coast wanting to move out west to avoid being told what to do, to start a new life independent. That's basically what the American country was founded on, as well as people coming to the New World, to America, to live without people telling them what to do. That is the very nature of this entire enterprise that we call the United States of America. There's a lot of failures behind that. I mean, slavery is a good example of that. There's years of oppression in this country, not just of black people in slavery, but of every group of immigrants: the Chinese, the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, the Polish, the Jews. They have all faced persecution, and in some form or other, most of them have managed to integrate themselves into American society. But just this idea that people like to be told what to do just doesn't, to me, pan out in any way, shape, or form if you really, really examine human history. But it's this idea that we work in soul grinding, dead end, pointless jobs because we like to be told what to do. When in the reality is that this is the hand we've been dealt. I would love to work for myself, to own my own business, but that entails risk that at my age I'm certainly not willing to engage in. I have house payments. I have, um, and once those house payments are done, I have house repairs to make, which means I'm going to need to take a loan to fix the things that are wrong with the house that I can't afford to do now because I have a house payment. Um, but I would, love to start my own business and be my own boss and not be told what to do. I hate being told what to do, which certain people have found out to their detriment, mostly my wife. Not that I've, usually when she tries to tell me what to do, I'll dig in my heels and just do the exact opposite. Um, but yeah, it's this arrogant attitude that I see from people, in positions of power and authority, who look down on the rest of us, thinking that we're too simple. When instead what we've done is taken the path of least resistance, which in its own way is kind of depressing, but in some ways the system's also rigged against us. To succeed in that way, you need a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. People think, if you succeed if you work hard. Not really. I see tons of businesses fail, people who have worked hard. So it's not just about hard work. And some people don't want to work 90 hours a week for half of what they could make working for someone else. And that is the other truth as well. Yes, I could start my own business, but I work a 40-hour week, I make a decent living, and I've got a ton of vacation time. If I open my own business, if I was lucky, I'd make half what I'm making now. And I would have no vacation time, and I would have no free time to do this, or to read books, or to play video games, or watch movies. Whatever job I worked for myself would consume my time. So, I don't work an office job because I like being told what to do. It's just a little easier and a bit more convenient. But another thing that made me want to make this video was that I see people in my circumstances, people who are solidly middle class, having the same attitude that, people are blindly obedient because they are too simple to do anything but be told what to do. But of course, it doesn't apply to them. No. They're the enlightened ones. It's the other people. It's those other people who are, blind slaves who can only do what their masters tell them to do. And I find that type of self-delusion to be frustrating, sometimes amusing, and sometimes just maddening, that people are that self-delusional to that point. Just baffles me. I try hard to be as self-aware as possible, to be aware of my own failings, and to try and be as unbiased and as open as possible. I'm not perfect. I don't always succeed in that. But I do make a conscious effort to escape my own biases, to escape my own preconceptions, because I am aware of them. I know they're there, and for the most part, I know which ones I have. It's one of the reasons I avoid certain media websites, just because I know some because I know that they'll feed my biases, and I don't want that to happen, and some because they feed other people's biases, and I don't want to see that either. I like to keep an open mind. I like to be informed of the real facts and not the propaganda. And yeah, there's too much of that going on. I guess that's all I've got to say about that. Just that I found it interesting and a false narrative that still was presented in such a way that was much more interesting than any other ways I've seen it presented. Um, and the show is just fascinating. It really, really is. Season 1 especially. I find the later seasons to be less interesting, but man, season 1 just rocks. And it's full of little vignettes like this, little moments of philosophy. And I know a lot of it owes itself to Anthony Hopkins. The man's amazing, but it's not only him. Just some of the other characters too. The way the philosophy of season 1 presents itself. So I'm a bit fan gushing here about Westworld season 1, but also about that that little tidbit that kept running through my head. Good hunting.